this is Alex Dutton of Dutton Themionic, who made my amplifier, my custom built amplifier. Hello, Alex. I'm very pleased to be chatting to you. And thank you so much for the amazing amplifier, which has traveled all over Europe and taken quite a battering over the years, been thrown in and out of cars, and it's still working a treat.
Still going strong. Well, great, Tim. It's very kind of you to invite me on and have a chat about it. And just whilst having a look at the files, documents before this call, I didn't realise it was that long ago that I built it for you. It was actually, I think the concept was actually 2009. So it's going back a while, and it's been going well for a few years for you now.
Yes, yeah. So I think we had one valve change on it, didn't we, a while ago?
Which is not bad in however many years that is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been working a treat. It's in recent years I've been using it a lot more, because what I've started doing is because of my umpteen tuning issues. So I've got so many songs in different guitar tunings.
Well, they're tuning choices, aren't they?
Yeah. So my more recent stuff is in standard tuning. My older stuff is in a sort of open G major blues tuning for the slide and everything. I have a few in Dag Dad as well as D minor. So what I do when I'm touring, because people still want a lot of the blues stuff and they don't just want to hear all the new songs, what I'm doing is I'm kind of tending to take the electric guitar, taking my SG, and have that in a G tuning and play all the blues stuff on through the amplifier, through the Fender Twin mod pedal that I've got.
Yes.
And then just run that as the blues setup, and then the acoustic guitar playing the more standard tuning. But it's also kind of funny, I've now started doing this whole thing where I also sometimes I'll start standing up playing the acoustic songs, and then I'll take a sit down and then I'll play the blues stuff, because I use the stomp box as well.
Of course, yeah. Well, it's great that it's got that versatility for the different styles of music you're working with. So yeah, that's a nice that we managed to tick that big box to make it.
I mean, I think that was the thing, wasn't it? And it does have like I've actually had, especially with the amp mod pedal, where basically the amp mod pedal, all I'm doing is running some gain and a little bit of reverb on it. It's just like a plate reverb on it. I don't usually use the tremolo function on it at all.
From the pedal, right? Because the amp, one of the design or requirements was that, from memory, it's going back a while now, it had to be small and compact, so not too big, too heavy. It has to be portable for the amount of touring that you were doing at the time and still are. It had to pack enough of a punch to be suitable for smaller venues without having to be mic'd up. And then there's the V word, that versatility. So I think I try to make it as simple as possible, because it would be traveling a lot. We don't want it too complex with too many bells and whistles that might cause problems in the future or wear out. So we kept it to the minimum electronics, really. So it is less is more.
I think wasn't it? We decided flat state was probably better than putting a reverb unit in it, because that would just add to weight. And I could
weight, another valve or two, another transformer, and spring reverbs are fairly delicate things. They do break and go wrong from time to time, especially on the road. So we didn't want that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is perfect. It actually has a perfect spot in the boot of the car that it fits in. It's like I've got my Tetris sorted now, so it genuinely fits in like
Yeah.
perfectly in a certain place, and
Yeah.
it's quite funny. I know exactly where the amp goes, and the pedal box goes, and it sort of it folds all in. The only
Yeah.
complex I get is when I've got another artist with me, and then it's like, oh, disrupt my Tetris.
But it is small, and I think we did compromise there on size, or on the speaker rather, because I think when we originally spoke, I think most people really want a 12-inch speaker minimum, really. Well, not minimum, as a sort of unwritten standard. But because we used a donor cabinet, which was a little Marshall originally, wasn't it?
Yes.
And that was designed around a 10-inch speaker. That's what we had in it. But it sounds good. You know, it
Yeah,
sounds
it sounds great. I mean, I've had a lot of sound engineers at venues say they couldn't believe the tone on it for a tiny little amp like that, and how loud it is, things like that. There's also yeah, there was just like the warmth in the valves. I think a lot of people, because of the Marshall cab, a lot of sound
yeah,
engineers just think it's a little Marshall amp,
yeah,
a little valve state Marshall amp. So when they actually hear it, they're like, "Oh, that sounds great." It's like, yeah, that's not what you think it is.
yeah, of course, yeah,
And then they look
yeah,
at it and they're like, "Oh, right, no, it isn't." I mean, I think the proviso when we were building was I was kind of going on my idea in my head was somewhere between a high watt and a Fender Twin, hence using the Fender Twin pedal. I mean, I love Fender Twins, but I've toured with a
yeah,
Fender Twin, and I think we spent more time getting it fixed every day than
yeah.
than using it.
Seeing a chiropractor or osteopath or whatever,
Yeah.
just they're so heavy, they're so big. They're not. They're a touring amp if you've got roadies, I think.
Yeah, USA is a Monster had a Fender Twin, but they had a backup amp, and I think we used the backup amp more than we ever used the Fender Twin. I think it spent most of its time just sitting in the van because it just died.
Heavy, yeah, yeah. They're too big. I mean, I love working on the nice amp. Yeah, a very nice sounding amp and a great amp to work on as well. So I like repairing them, but I don't like carrying them in and out of the workshop very much.
And in fact, and while we're talking about carrying, I mean, the amps that I had before, one of
Yeah.
which I actually gave to you, I think, as sort of part of the thank you for doing wonderful job with that horrible Vox thing that I had.
There was a Vox, yeah, there was. That's right. And there was what was the other one you had? A sound wasn't a Sound City. It was called, I can't think what it was now, but it was yeah, some old enormous valve. There's enormous 2x12.
Yeah. That thing was just like so weighty and just
Yeah,
ridiculous. And then I'd I'd had the metal stuff as well. So I had the Tony Iommi, the classic Tony Iommi Laney amp, 100-watt amp head
yeah,
and cabs, which, like, for what I do, just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, maybe when I do my Doom album that would have been perfect, but
yeah,
it's a bit sort of over the top. And I actually kind of like the size and sound of this one, because if I do need to, one of the things you've done on it is if I do need to put it into a cab, I can actually run it into a cab.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's got. I like to do that because it makes all small valve amps. It makes them grow up a lot. You know, when you plug them into a 4x12 or 212 even into a nice big cab, you really appreciate how powerful a little single-ended amp can be. And yours, I think we talked about either an EL84 or 6V6, and we went with that 6V6 output valve to perhaps to look at more of the American tone of amp, more Fendery than a Marshall sound.
Yeah.
So it can be. It's pretty clean at slightly lower settings, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at.
Yeah. It's got
my
that.
memory. I've got the circuit here. I was
Yeah.
looking through it, and I see we had a gain and a master volume, and we've got the luxury of a three knob tone stack, which is again quite unusual for a small amp, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's I kind of like it. It's kind of funny because, yeah, there's like, the harder I hit it, the more fuzz comes out. So when I'm
Yeah,
finger picking, it's actually quite it's really crystal clear clean. and then when I'm hitting it hard with the electric, with the
then it,
pick, and it sounds like, and it's kind of, it's kicking. It's got
yeah,
a nice dynamic range, but it's funny when I'm playing a gig and somebody borrows the amp, says, "Oh, can I
yeah,
borrow your amp?" And they'll plug it in, and then they'll spend about like 30 minutes trying to work out how you get a decent sound of it. It's almost like it's set to me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. But the way you described there, Tim, is a lovely one, because you're playing not only the guitar there, but you're playing the amplifier as well, because you
Yeah.
know how the guitar and the amplifier, all of which are instruments, are all working together. So that's great. That's great.
So, because one of my favorite guitar sounds is Steve Albini's guitar amp sound, where he has something very similar. Like the harder he hits the guitar, the more gain comes out.
Yeah,
and it's got a similar sort of sound. I kind of like the way Albini has, although he just has one dial, but he's got it literally set up to like Steve Albini. I think he made it
yeah,
himself, and it's set up to Steve Albini, and he's just got like the one volume dial on it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've seen Shellac live, but it's quite an amplifier. But it's the way he's wired it is all the EQ settings are like literally set to Steve Albini, and it's hemmed in. But this one is kind of nice. It's still got a little bit of give and take. So when I'm in different sounding rooms and stuff, I can play around with things.
And you know where those controls are. That's good. I think Brian made something similar with his boxes, doesn't he?
Yes.
Certain specification. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, it's to hear you're still using it so much, and that currently you're able to, because obviously you've been touring a little bit less over the last couple of years. But
it played its probably biggest festival in a while last year. It played at Muddy Roots Festival.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Which was quite cool. The sound engineer was quite funny actually. The sound engineer said, "Oh, so the first two acts are solo guys. Oh, right, that's cool, that's easy." So it was me with my electric guitar, acoustic guitar, banjo, two separate microphones, and he's like, "Oh, okay, right, okay, you've got a bit more than I thought for a solo act. Okay, that's cool." And then my friend Gypsy Rufino, who has about the same amount of stuff, and then Gypsy also used the Dutton amplifier because his amplifier broke in sound check, and so we got a double. He did a double shift. He had one of those little tiny Vox amps.
Right.
And it just packed in. It was a transistor one, and I don't know what happened to it. It died. But so he ended up using the Dutton as well, and we had to do a little fiddle around. I had to sort of be on stage during his sound check to get it to. He's like, no, more like this. Yeah, I know what, because he could work out how to like change things, because there's nothing written on it as well, which I think kind of confuses people.
That's right. Yeah, I think that was a deliberate. Let's keep it simple. And it's yours, it makes it the Tim Holehouse amp, because it's
I think we even the screen on the front, we did it in a sort of red and black screen as well on the front,
to make it different, to make it absolutely. Well, it's great that you're using it so much, and that you're busy, and good that you're keeping busy as well. And this end, I've you know me, Tim, I don't advertise. I haven't got a website. I build amps and do amp repairs all through word of mouth and through friends. And I've done a few builds obviously since 2009, since your one. And I've got a couple on order, which is nice. I'm starting to do designs for. All still ticking over right here.
Yes, every now and then I'll bump into another Dutton amp on the road. I've seen a couple in my passing, and I'll be like, "Oh, right, oh,
brilliant,
Alex, oh, nice." He says, "All good," that. So it's kind of like it's nice to see. Is like every now and then, like one will pop up. I think it's Simon Williams, Reactor Core Splendid.
He's used one. He may have one now. I don't think I built him one.
Oh right,
But
he might have bought one off of somebody. Yeah, he I think he knows you, but yeah,
oh, yeah,
he's
certainly,
definitely one of the most interesting acts I've ever played with is Reactor Correspondent.
completely. Yeah, entertaining, definitely.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever saw him, he was literally rolling around on the floor with an electric guitar, not really even playing it, with a load of pedals turned on, screaming at the top of his lungs. And I was just like, this is just genuinely like one of the most wonderful, weirdest sort of performance art things I've ever seen.
See, and that could have been at Ripley's Joint, Tim, was it? Do you
It
think it
might
was?
well have been, yeah, it might well have been. I think that was on that might have been the one we met at.
Yeah,
VD were playing from Japan.
that's right. Yeah, I've got their CD. I was playing it just the other day, actually, funny enough. But yeah, it
Oh,
was one of Rainy and Steve's nights, I think, that they
yes.
put on.
Yeah. Sadly, Tom, from the drummer from VD, just passed away just before Christmas.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Which is a bit sad
Yeah,
news. Yeah, because we did the collaboration CD and everything off the back
yeah.
of that tour, and I think it was the day after that show, in fact, and we were all like, "What would Reactor Core is Splendid do?" It made a racket, and yeah, we just loved him. We just like thought he was incredible, and I've played a few shows with him down in Chatham where he lives, but yeah, I think he had, or somebody that he put me on with had a Dutton amp that I've seen, and
Yeah.
they'll pop up every now and then. So if people were to try and get in touch with you to get a custom built amp or get something repaired, is the best way to just go through Facebook?
Yeah, drop me a message on Facebook. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have a web.
Because I mean, I genuinely am so happy with it, and like for the cost of what you charge me, it really
Oh,
is like an absolute wonder of an amp, and it's lasted so well, and it
yeah,
probably needs a little soup up soon,
it's
but
a solid little thing. It'll outlive us all. But
mm,
yeah, if anybody wants to know a bit more or is interested in one, yeah, Facebook. Get in touch with me on Facebook, and I'm always happy to have a chat.
well, thank you so much for your time, Alex. It's
No,
really appreciated. And
no,
yeah, I'll let you know when this is up on YouTube. I'll stop the
look
recording
forward to
now.
it. And best of luck. Safe travels.
Yeah, cheers.
So here we have it, the Dutton Thermionic amplifier, the TH7, as myself and Alex called it. This is what we were discussing there in that conversation that Alex very kindly chatted to me about, and very kindly built me this amplifier, which I take out on the road with me and plays lots of shows with me. Now, as you can see, badge there, Dutton, and got like these controls, and I was saying that people find it a bit confusing as to what each one does. So I'll explain. This first one is just a volume control. It's just a standard volume control. Then we have a treble control. Puts a bit more treble gain and more sort of high-end sounds. Then we have bass, which is the confusing thing. You'd expect that to be the middle, but that's actually the bass control, and that's the bit that usually I think confuses people sometimes. And this one's the middle. So what I normally have it at is a slight scoop on the middles, slight roll off the things, and slightly touch higher on the high gain, but mostly like not too far off, depending on the room, obviously, not too far off, just a flat line, not fully gained up. And then the last thing is the gain control. This is also the other thing that confuses people. I have two little notches, which that's a light gain and that's a heavier gain. You can turn it right up full and it's really fuzzy. But this is how I usually have it set. And I shall just turn on the standby so that you can hear what it sounds like. This is unaffected. is it unaffected? Now that's what I normally have it at. Now, a bit more higher gain. You can hear a little bit of cable hum. Turn that right up, show you the... Very loud. But I normally have it around there. Now, I'll show you the, so that's just a normal volume control. So I'll go through these. I'm going to turn them these right down. We turn this one right up, you can hear that it's... That's the high. Turn that guy out. As you can hear, that's the bass, not the middle. And then this one. And that's the middle. It's a wonderful little amplifier. As you can hear, it's got a great tone to it, even unaffected. I sometimes run pedals through it. I'll show you all my pedals through it in the next episode. But this is a wonderful little amplifier. So I normally have it set at something around this. Smooth, slight mid scoop, slight roll off on the bass. And that's usually my usual settings. Nice warm sound to it. Now let me show you around the back of the amplifier. Now this is where all the magic happens, because a lot of people see the Marshall casing and just think it's a Marshall amp. There's a lot more going on to it than just a standard valve state Marshall amp. It's an actual valve. So you've got your mains, your HC fuses and your standby switch. There, that's all your earth stuff. That's all the power stuff. G10 L35 Celestion speaker. That's a 10-inch speaker that I use normally, but it's not the only way you can run this amplifier into a speaker. Now this is the interesting bit that Alex was talking about. What we have here is a 4 ohm, 16 ohm, and under here, plugged into the Celestion speaker at the moment, is the 8 ohm. Look at it there, there's a jack plug that plugs it in. And this is so that you can plug the amplifier into a speaker system, like a cab speaker system, like 4x12, like you see most Marshall head and cabs plugged into. And it does make it really loud, and it sounds really, 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 really cool. And I've done this a few times, but I do love it in the little speaker. It's got a nice, like, warm sound to it, the little Celestion. And inside is all valves, and I have one of the valves that I can show you. I believe it is a 6v6 valve that would be sat inside there. 6v6. That's it up the right way, and that's inside the amplifier. It's a lovely warm sounding amplifier, and it does exactly what I want it to. So I can't thank Alex at Dutton Themionics enough for building such a fantastic amp. Thank you, Alex.